you. Thank you, Professor Banerjee, for introducing. You can see the title is Understanding World University Ranking, a Comparison Matrix. You have highlighted the 2 points. It is, one is obviously is important for all the academic institutions, but for the last, how I can say, less than 2 decades, it's become somehow controversial. Especially I must state that for the last 10 years, since 2010 or 12, it's become more controversial, and you all know there's some issues around the world in terms of the way they are measuring this or using the indicators, and what the academic institutions doing in terms of getting into the world university ranking. So let's start this. What is happening? The 30 years now, 30 years, I always say that is one of the most seismic event in the world, when we have seen the advancement of 4 stages of industrial revolutions, and same time 4 stages of globalizations after the disintegration of Soviet Union. Now, this particular time, 1990s, is becoming one of the seismic time for the history of human civilizations. In that sense, the world geared towards one types of the economic doctrine, one types of political doctrine, one types of more that unified to some extent the educational doctrine. So one is that the advancement of 4I industrial revolutions, what we have seen, digitizations, the surge of consumerism, the globalizations, liberalizations in all aspects of our life, including the academic institutions and academia. So one way to promote ourselves is to ensure that we are into the race. It's for equally important for the institution, academic staff, researchers, students, and various stakeholders, including the various government. The various university rating systems now in place, especially when 2003, the first academic ranking by world universities, one of the Chinese, the oldest university, initiated that ranking system. Since then, we have seen that the whole world, academic institutions, academics, and various stakeholders looking after those types of ranking system is not because of to create a quality education system, but also create a positive perception among the various stakeholders, particularly within the students' bodies, because students need to have that assurance that in institutions they are planning to enroll or get into best known, has the quality, has the better sustainability, and is has somehow to benchmark with the other best quality institutions. And same time, the universities, they always think what we can see for the last few years, that university ranking can bring that positivity. But at the end of the day, what we see now, that we can't say that end of education is really a character, but we see end of education nowadays is become most successful in terms of capitalism and accumulating the capitalist interest. So that is what we see, the two-tier, the world, while we are preaching deontological perspective within consumerism, and same times we see that we don't take our moral obligation very seriously. It is not, that the academic institution also within these boundaries. So let's see the current trends when you talk about the ranking system. Now, this particular, the presentations I was doing for the last few years, so specifically, recently I was doing a 5-day special workshop on the ranking systems and the way to forward in Bangladesh. So this is, I thought that as the most of the audience here is from academic institutions, just to shed some lights, what we can do and what will be the implications specifically the implication for the academics and academic institutions when you're talking about the world university ranking. So one point is that the globalization. So I think it has changed everything. Digitizations, the COVID, post-COVID situations, all academic institutions, they are trying to capitalize their profit. That one side is that government-supported initiatives, the government-supported research initiative, and side by side, the whole academic, the atmosphere, whole academic landscapes, promoted by the private sector higher education institutions. So they may have the different types of motivation, but one of the key motivations is that how to get a number of students and how to get, obviously, their profit interest at the same time. But how that can be done? That can be done to making sure to have certain types of stamp, and that is obviously nowadays university, the ranking. Now, you look at this, there's a trend for the last, that 16, 17, 18 years, since the first introduced that ARWU, the academic ranking by world university, academic ranking of world university by Chinese ranking authority in 2002, it has changed the whole perception of the various stakeholders associated within the academic institution, in particularly institution itself. And then same time, after a few years, we have seen some other authorities from North America, from Europe, and from other parts of the world. They have initiated some other ranking system, such as Oibometrics, which is becoming now one of the largest in terms of the ranking, the QS, which has become more popular around the world, specifically Africa, Asia, and European countries. Then and then Scopus-based Shimago ranking system. This become somehow a recent trend within the academic institutions. I can see that that a surge of journals in social sciences, in business and management, huge amount of conferences increased. And one of the most important questions people are asking, whether it is in Scopus, whether it is in Web of Science. I think people are more prone to look at Scopus. So means it's become specifically for QS World University Ranking. Scopus become as heart of many institutions. That somehow, that prompted some of the unethical behavior by many institutions, many parts of the world. If I state that some institution, even some Asian universities, Central Eastern European universities, they are offering the huge amount of incentives just to publish in Scopus listed journal. And you could see just a few weeks back, the Scopus highlighted more than 600 journals are not up to the standard, although they're monitoring very frequently. So this is the trend is happening. In institutions, they are forcing their academic staff to publish in Scopus listed journal, to ensure that university are getting into the QS World ranking system. So these are some of the trends. That's what we are saying is becoming nowadays more controversial and a violation of the moral obligation by the institutions and academics. Now, why we need a university ranking? Now, of course, we would like to see the global perspective. All the institutions, if I look at the UK and USA, that most of the students' enrollment is done by the overseas students, and that is one of the way to maximize the financial interest. So it has to promote the international perspective, that people will become more aware about the quality. That is one of the way to stamp your institutions, that you have the quality, that mechanism within the institutions, and also a mechanism to benchmark with other quality institutions across the globe. For the student, yes, it is a good indicator for them to understand why the institution is really good. Good in which sense? that it has a quality teaching and learning methodologies, techniques, a good place. That there are many areas they can judge whether it is up to the standard, the local standard, national standard, and also up to the international standard, where they can grow and can increase the future employment opportunities. We are not talking about to enhance their character-based attitude and qualities, but obviously whether they can become successful in financial terms, at least. And also having the best ranking stamp, that as if you are talking about the QS or even ARW or the Times Higher Education World University Ranking, as soon as you are in, that is one of the best brand or stamp you could have, and that can bring a lot of financial advantages for the institutions. One of the best way to increase the number of students. So means it helps institutions to become very much competitive. For employers, yes, it is the good indicators to understand the institutions producing good quality of students with the better soft skills, better understanding, better employability skills, better transferable skills, so that they can they contribute hugely within the organizations or to the organizations. And also for various stakeholders, including governments and the publics at large, will have the better understanding and the great awareness, that about the specific institutions. Now, I put this VUCA, the most importantly nowadays, we need the people, we need the institutional leaders, we need even the students, even the academic with the VUCA stamp. What does it mean? It's not that the world we are facing at a time is volatile or uncertain or maybe complex and ambiguous, but we need someone to become VUCA to respond the VUCA world, being with a positive mindset, with a growth mindset, and agile and disruptive. The world is becoming a little bit, or I would say, the most complex. So the complex scenarios should be responded by the complex the elements. So students, academics, and the various interest body associated with the institution should become as most agile, most disruptive, and most dynamic. I would say the VUCA student, or maybe VUCA academic, or maybe VUCA institutional leader. And that is the only way we can sustain. And I could see that this morning we had a lot of discussion about the United Nations Sustainable Goals, how we can incorporate within the education. And yesterday, especially these students, young students, they picked up some of the key sustainable goals within their research. I think that is the only way forward. You see, if we do care about the moral obligation, about the world, about the institution, about the publics, we should pick up some of the areas and develop our curriculum, teaching and learning methodologies such a way that will incorporate everything. Means I'm talking about the SDGs, and then provide some of the insightful teaching and learning experiences to our students and community, and that will feed back to the corporations. Now, the impact of university ranking system on higher education. Obviously, we talked about the why it is important. This is more or less same thing. Institution need to increase its the brand name, its image, and position itself, so that people will have the better and positive perception about the institutions, about the students, about also the power of the institutions to communicate to the stakeholders, the various stakeholders, including corporations and government. The many institutions they are looking. I know that the UK, the Higher Education Research Council, the UK government decided institution not prone to produce the high quality research paper, the fund will be reduced. So means the governments and the research council, they don't want to see the institution just becoming as a teaching institution. So they have to combine research and teaching together to give the best the experiences to the students and can contribute to the social causes. ranking system and also strategic positioning for the institutions for various stakeholders group. That is the only way you could say why you think that you are the best quality education. So somehow that can be quantified, and that quantification is gaining that. It's not only getting that stamp, but that through this process, the process is more robust and very holistic. The institution itself, by mobilizing the students, academics, and the various bodies, those are interested within the institution, they can bring on the most and the greatest experience for the institutions by enhancing the quality. If we look at the various criteria and indicators of the world university ranking, if we look at those indicators and try to implement those indicators, automatically institutions can become something different. And that different is the way to position for the institutions strategically for various stakeholders. Now, there are many academic institution ranking systems nowadays, but three of them are most important, which we could see that people are talking. One of them is the Chinese-based, which is Shanghai Jiatong ranking. Is called ARWU, Academic Ranking of World Universities. That is first started, but their ranking is somehow a little bit complex. Not all the universities can join with them. Because one of the indicators is high impact research, and that is based on that people are getting Nobel Prizes, or any mathematics they're getting the special medals. So this is somehow not the most of the universities can aspire to. One of the most the popular ranking system, which is QS, Quarrel and Simon World University ranking. And most of the Asia, Africa, I have seen the Europe, and even the Latin America, and they're very much prone to become within 1,000 top ranking QS ranking institutions, because they have some the varieties. It's not. It's also based on geography. It's also based on different schools and different the parameters they are using. Then we have, although the Times Higher Education ranking previously, the initial few years that were jointly organized with the QS ranking, but after a few years, it's then separated. So we have now two different bodies. One is the QS World University ranking, then separately the Times Higher Education World University ranking. That also becoming very popular, and because it is employing. If we look at the different criteria, which I'm going to look at next slides, you will see Times Higher Education has the most comprehensive criteria, around 13 criteria they are using within the 5 parameters that combine teaching, research, and employability. So the whole dimensions they are considering to ensure that institutions are performing well, not like as academic ranking of world universities, that university focusing only on research, not only also teaching. So they combine teaching, research, and employability skills development to create a holistic educational institutions to contribute to the social causes. That is, that's why we see that there's quite a lot of attentions for this, the Times Higher Education. Then we have a word-based ranking system, Orbometrics. I'll not bring quite a lot. And recently, since 2009, we have seen Scopus-based, Elsevier-based Shimago institutional ranking that is always produced by Shimago, which is the publication Elsevier, one of the publishers that brought this ranking system. And then we have German-based German initiatives that is called Center for Higher Education Development. Now we have another one is the Taiwan-based, but let's focus on first 3. Jerry, please let me know if I am over with the time. I hope that I'm going to finish in the next 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the time. You have enough time.
Oh, sorry, Professor Padmakuli.
Yeah. So you have 10 minutes.
My intention was to see the implication for the academic staff. I was just looking at for the last 10 years of what is happening, specifically some parts of the world, such as South Africa, India, Pakistan, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Russia, the way the universities are promoting their research agenda. I found that the most of the universities focusing on research with one goal: to get into QS ranking system. And that whole, the attitude change the true nature of the education system and the research in higher education system. Because when the research, the institution must have adequate resources to fund breakthrough research. That is most important, because academics would like to see they're into research, so they can bring the practical dimension into the class. But when it's become too much obsessed that you need to have a research, you need to produce many research within a particular year because we need to have our place in world ranking, somehow that is diluting. Somehow we see that we talk about our rights, it seems that the moral obligation of being an academic and having an institutions, somehow we are bypassing. And it is, we can see for the last few years in many parts of the world, that you may have the ranking, but still the quality of education is missing. There's a missing link. So let's see. And we also felt some countries, and I felt that, like, if I give the context of Bangladesh, you can see we have more than 160 higher education institutions, including the most of them obviously are private higher education universities. But over 53, we have the public initiatives. And the University of Dhaka is one of the prominent, one of the best universities. We used to call it the Oxford in Asia. What is happening with the ranking? Only 2 universities in Bangladesh, they could have a place in top 1,000, but in bottom 200. So we are just asking a series of questions why it is. Why students, there's a huge competitions and they don't get the actual enrollment, but actual situation within the institutions is not up to the actual standard. So we thought that somehow the university end means we are talking about that institutional leaders and the academics and the students, somehow there is a miss or jotted line communications, or maybe academics are not fully involved in the ranking system, or maybe there's many obstacles such as lack of funding, lack of initiatives, lack of empowerment, or lack of bureaucracy. But I felt that if the academic staff can be involved in QS ranking system from beginning to end, they may have the better outcome. So let's see the key role, because the tutors, the faculty, the academics are the heart of the institution, because they're bringing their own experience, their thoughts to students' minds. So students and the tutors, they are the front line. So they are teaching. They have to do the research. The most of the service means we are talking about the recruitment of students, but especially it is happening in most of the European countries by the tutors, by the faculty, and promotion of the institution to the students and employees, employers. They are participating in different committee meetings, different committees. They're providing the counseling. So it seems that the faculty are heavily involved within the institutions to promote the institutional ethos. However, in reality, it seems that they are not empowered when it comes to the QS ranking. They are not fully involved. Even they don't know what is happening. It seems that it is administrative procedures, the isolation of academic or faculty from this, and that somehow is causing some problems and and confusions and ambiguity, creating ambiguities within the institutions. So The intention is that academic faculty should be heavily involved within the process. Because if you look at that actual, now let's move on. I think I talked about it, the implication for the institution. Let's go back quickly, the QS ranking. Now, first one is the QS ranking. What are the criteria we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one of the most important criteria is academic peer review, and that is purely based on the academics interview that is happening not face-to-face, but you are providing around the world. So means you would like to see the institution should have a wide network with the various academics around the world who can then make a recommendation about the institution. So academic peer review is the 40%. Now I was give you the example. I just got the request from one of the universities in Russia, put my name so that I can make a recommendation Russian universities. But unfortunately, our university system in Bangladesh are not so proactive to create that type of worldwide networking system so that academics have the better understanding and perception about the institution so that they can make their own review or they can make recommendations. So, and 20% you can see faculty-student ratio. Now I was listening that 150 students in a class and taught by one tutor. So you can see how it is possible on earth to teach a big group, not a lecture class, but if it is a normal class. So that causing problems in some parts of the world. Citation for faculty, yes, we are talking about publication. You know that even 10 years back I've seen the many institutions forcing their academics to be promoted. They have to have the certain amount of publication, and the academics also prone to publish 3, 4, 5 articles, the publication every year. I don't know how it is possible on earth, and that's why what is happening. You are publishing in those journals; those are not highly indexed, and you don't get the citations. So QS World Ranking also looking that the PAR academic citation for faculty is not that you have the volume of publication, but they would like to see average citation for each individual faculty you have. Sometimes you may have many publication, but not necessarily mean that you have high citation. So you have to look at this, where you are publishing, where we are publishing. Employer reputation, it is all down to the employability. So many institutions, they don't actually even sometimes having that mechanism to see where their students go, where their graduates go, whether they are within the employment. You see, we have to track all these things. I think a good alumnus can help to understand, that whether the graduates' employability is high or low. That can increase the reputation amongst the various employers. International student ratio, many universities, they don't have any students from abroad, from internationals. I'm talking about many parts of the world, not in Europe. And international staff ratio. So these are some of the indicators. But what we can see, the 3 most important aspects from the QS ranking, one is that focus on research, including the citations. That indicates that you have to publish in a reputed journal and highly indexed journal. So now you may wondering why that everywhere, including India, Thailand, Malaysia, Pakistan, Russia, South Africa, they will not allow academics to publish other than it is Scopus. Because the Scopus that you can say 20-30% of the QS ranking is purely based on the Scopus. They take the Scopus published articles and they consider based on this. Let's move to the quickly next on the Times Higher Education. You can see 5 criteria, but there are some subgroups altogether, 13 criteria. Again, if I look at that, citation, research influence 30%. So again, the citation is most important. Teaching is 30%. Research volume. So you have to have certain amount of research within the institutions. Plus, same times that to maintain the quality of the research, you have to have the citation and international staff mix and students and industry. So again, if I look at the 3 takeaways from QS, the Times Higher Education ranking, that is also the quality of research, the quality of teaching, and employability is most important. And then, which is one of the, is a third, the World University ranking, that is Chinese Shanghai, we call it Shanghai Hong Kong University. Yeah, what is focusing? Its main focus only research. And you can see quality of education also there. Alumni of institution winning Nobel Prize. Now, how many institutions could produce that type of Nobel Prize? Or Fields medals. Now, Fields medals are the top mathematicians. So means if you do not have a specific department to produce, the physical sciences, so means you are not part of this. So the very few institutions around the world could be, that as part of the Shanghai ranking. Quality of faculty, yes. Staff of an institution winning Nobel Prize or field medals, again, that shows that you have the best quality. But in reality, we don't know. So this obviously institutions and the wider publics, they could say. But we could say that yes, that can ensure. The research output, again, that is same as the QS ranking and the Times Higher Education ranking, that you must have a number of good quality in the papers that has the best citations, and that can be indexed in citation index, which we say that SCI, that is expanded, or SSCI, Social Science Citation Index, means those are published Web of Science or Thomson Reuters. And per capita performance means we are talking about, again, that each academics, how much citations they have within the institutions. So these are the three. Now, quickly, if you look at the Scopus, only that part, what is that? Sum up. If you look at only 30% research and citations, so this part, 60%, that is applicable to the QS ranking. This is why worldwide, many institutions, especially African Asia, they're focusing too much on the Scopus ranking journal. And this is normally you don't hear in the UK or many parts of the Europe. Even the Europe got serious issues with the Scopus, and they're facing some of the problems. So it's becoming, I'll not go through unethical behavior by some institutions or maybe Scopus itself. Let's move to the next. And that is some of the metrics you can see. Those are not considered as in my discussion. OIBO metrics, and this is the Taiwan-based, the government-based higher education, the metrics test, we talked about it. So it shows you the three most important areas, or maybe four most important areas, that is research, teaching, employability, and international students. So what's our implication? So what we should do, what are the important factors for ranking? Means academic institutions, academic reputations, we need to focus on research. Many institutions, that in many parts of the world, they don't have adequate amount of research. Employability, quality faculty, citation faculty, and also student ratio. And obviously the last point, the institution should become more proactive to recruit international students. The way we can set the path to become the QS ranking, the institutions, the best academic staff. I think we need to understand the attributes of the good quality academic staff, and then nurture those staff, either recruit those staff or then continuous professional development to build that currency within the academic faculty, so that they can give the best experience to the students. Focus on high impact research. I think that should be not just to publish, but publish high impact that will have high citation and also the highly indexed journal, and that will ensure that. To do this, the institutions and the government and the UGC must increase the fund and the resources adequately. Increase incentive and monitor performance. Many faculty, they feel that no, we don't need research because we are not empowered. There's a lack of fund, and we don't want to bring our fund from our pockets. I think the institution must have that amount of the resources, empower and increase motivation. Continuous students feedback. I have seen many institutions, they don't have any feedback systems throughout the different intakes. I'm not talking about the many parts of the Europe, but some parts of Asia and Africa. We should have the comprehensive system so that we can get continuously good feedback, bad feedback from the students, and accordingly we can revamp our situations or adjust. Growth mindset with agility, that is most important, and forward thinking. I think these are some of the most important things we could have. So that's all in a nutshell to discuss about. That's all, Professor Banerjee.
Yeah.